class. It's great to have you guys here. As you know, we're going to be starting some experiments about chemical and physical changes, and you have a laboratory coming up about this. And so I wanted to tell you a little bit about them and also demonstrate a little bit about chemical and physical changes to you as well. So a chemical change is defined as a time when a chemical substance actually changes its chemical identity, meaning that a chemical is changed from one molecule to another molecule. And so that's really important to remember when we're thinking about the difference between chemical and physical changes. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a little bit of an experiment with this. First of all, I'm going to put on a little bit of protective equipment, I have some safety glasses, and I actually just have some leather work gloves, and I'll explain why in just a second. So I'm working with dry ice. If you've used dry ice before, you'll know sort of what it looks like. Let me show you here. Okay, so this is a chunk of dry ice. Some of you may know what this is, some of you may not. If you look really close, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but you can see sort of some steam coming off. And what this is it's solid carbon dioxide. So this is carbon dioxide like you'd find in the atmosphere, but this is a solid chunk of it. And so I'm going to be doing an experiment with this here, with this cup of water that you see here. So I have a glass of warm water, and I also have some dish soap. And I'm going to put some dish soap into the warm water. And the reason for that is just so you can see the change happening. And once I do that, I'm going to stick the chunk of dry ice into the water. So first of all, let me just stick some soap in here. I'm going to stir it around a bit. I didn't have a spoon, so I'll just stir it with my finger. All right. So I'm going to stick this in here, and I'll let you guys watch and see what happens. So we'll go ahead and zoom in here. All right. So you can see all these bubbles forming. And you can smush them. And it makes this awesome fog. And my question for everyone is what you're seeing here a chemical or a physical change? Please go ahead and pause your video now, and I want you to make a comment in the comments below on if you think this is a chemical or a physical change and why. So I am excited to read your guys' comments, and I hope to see your comments below. So now that everyone has made their guess on if this was a chemical or a physical change, let me go ahead and explain what's happening here chemically. Before we stick the chunk of dry ice, carbon dioxide, into the warm water, you'll notice that the carbon dioxide, denoted by this little rectangle up here, is a chunk of carbon dioxide, and that the molecules are really closely packed together. And so that is what we would call a solid. It was simply a solid before we stuck it in. Once you stick it into the warm water, you noticed in the demonstration that a bunch of bubbles came off of the system. And those bubbles are the carbon dioxide changing from solid form to gaseous form. Because the warm water is so much warmer than the solid carbon dioxide, it changes directly from a solid into a gas. That's what's called sublimation, and it's just a change from a solid to a gas. And the most important thing to notice here in this diagram that I drew is that the only real difference between before and after is the fact that the carbon dioxide molecules are further apart. The molecules have spread further apart because they heated up and they changed from a solid to a gas. So nothing chemically has changed here. The carbon dioxide, CO2, is still carbon dioxide, CO2, in both diagrams. Nothing has changed chemically. The molecules have just moved further apart, and this is what we would call a physical change.